Hey friends, welcome to Introverts. Hey friends, welcome to Introverts Unmuted. I am your host, Amber Hansel, and we talk about all things building up your confidence as introverts, lead generation and engagement in this space that feel authentic to you. Today, we're going to talk about mindsets that introverts can adapt to step into their power and create success for themselves. And with us today, we have Chrissi. She is a mindset coach for business owners, and she helps us get out of our negative thought loops and into action for our businesses, which I absolutely love. So hi, Chrissi.
Hi, Amber. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm so excited to chit chat about a topic that I think all of us can use.
Yes, because those negative thought loops are daily almost, it seems.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I don't think any person on this planet does not have negative thought loops that recur. And I'm excited to talk about specifically introverts and like how this might actually sometimes be a little bit more intense because introverts tend to feel their feelings a little bit more than us extroverts over here. I'm going to be honest, I'm an extrovert.
Love our extroverts when they understand us. And so I'd love to hear, like, how did you get into mindset coaching? Where did this come into play?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my start in business way, way long ago as a kid. I started my own businesses and I even was like, I washed planes in high school for a little bit of extra money because my dad was a pilot. And I moved into, once I was out in the workforce and I earned my rights, my stripes in my professional career because I also have a full-time job. Then I started looking around and going, what else do I want to do? And I landed in network marketing. And network marketing is basically like a crash course in professional development with a little bit of a paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Been there
And
before many years.
yeah, absolutely. And I built the team. I earned the trips. I did all of the things. And I watched my team members kind of fall off like flies. Like they would say that they wanted these things and then they would not actually go out and do them. And so I was like, how do I get them to do that? And the opportunity to earn a mindset coaching certification kind of fell in my lap. And I was like, I think that could be the answer. And so I earned the certification and I realized I loved mindset coaching 10 times more than I loved network marketing. And so I made a pivot. All great things come from a pivot.
Yep.
So that's how I got started. And now I help all different types of business owners. I have everything from different coaches to I have a friend that owns a coffee truck and we coach weekly and everything in between. So we all have thoughts. We all have things that come up and negative thought loop patterns that happen. And it's always so great to have a coach or someone in your pocket that understands those things and can help you see the clarity through the clouded glass.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I was in network marketing too for many years, and I think so many of us have experienced that. But yeah, the mindset around it is so important. And like you said, introverts, we get deep in our feels and we sit in our corner by ourselves, thinking that we are the only ones on this planet that are experiencing this negative thoughts, which is the most untrue statement ever because everyone goes through it. So, what are things that you help or tell people when we are experiencing some negative thoughts? Or maybe what are some of the most, I don't want to say popular negative thoughts, but common negative thoughts?
Yeah, I would say amongst business owners, like it's not working is probably the biggest negative thought. And when you have that, then you start going into actions that reinforce it. And so when you tell yourself, "Oh, this isn't working," and you feel when you feel discouraged, then you show up and do actions from a discouraged place. So you aren't fully authentically yourself. You don't say the bold thing. You don't do the fun dancing reel or whatever it is that you're known for. And you continually reinforce this result of, oh, it's not working. Well, it's not working because you were doing the actions that didn't align with it to work. And you constantly reinforce that loop.
Yeah, I definitely think that the action, and I love how you also focus on the action because there's many people that just stop at here, but you have to take the action. So how can we once we say, yeah, I am out of this negative thought loop, I'm feeling good, taking action, getting that next step to take the action.
I think awareness is going to be your number one tool in your back pocket. We call it the PNC principle, the pause, notice, choose. So if you take a second and you step outside, sometimes I'll even encourage clients to step outside of their own brain and pretend like you're someone else coaching yourself, or pretend that your brain is a completely separate person from you. And you can just say, I observe that my brain is telling me that this isn't working. Okay, so I see that. I notice the actions that I'm taking and the results that I'm creating. Is this the result that I want to create? And if the answer is no, okay, well, what do I need to think in order to create the result that I actually want? And sometimes we'll work backwards and say, okay, the result I want to create is a $5,000 month. What type of actions do you think that you'll need to take in order to reach that $5,000 month? What thought do you need to choose in order to become the person that takes those actions?
Yes. And I love that. And it's so important for us to sometimes step out of our own head and observe. And introverts are very good at observing. We're very good at awareness and recognizing it. But it's sometimes having to take that step and get out of our brains and ask someone else to help us do that, with stepping away and going, this is what's happening. These are the thoughts I need to take. And I love how you can work either way on that spectrum, so that we can, depending on the situation or where you're at, and then we can go either way with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to work. If you're familiar with like the thought model, I love to work the thought model backwards, and that's kind of my signature of like, okay, well, sometimes it's hard to try on that new thought until I know what it is that I need to do, and then once I know, oh, these are the things that I need to do. What do I need to think? How do I need to act? How do I need to show up as a person in order to do those actions?
Yeah, and I think that's really helpful for so many of us when we say, okay, this is what I want to do, because a lot of times we know this is the result I want. And then it's working backwards and getting those correct thoughts without spiraling into negative thoughts. So if someone all of a sudden starts to spiral, is there a way that they can, in the middle of a spiral, go, nope, I'm not doing this?
Oh, I love this so much. Now, I want to preface this with, we have something like 80,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of them are negative and recurring. Like, we have the same crappy thoughts over and over and over and over again. And so when you realize like, oh, this thought's been on repeat for a long time, you can either choose to not have it anymore, you can reframe it, or you can work through it. Like, hey, I have this thought about myself, and I know that my brain's just going to keep telling me. I know logically that it's not true, so I'm just going to ignore it. Like, it's still going to play on repeat, and so I'm going to pick myself up and dust myself off every time it comes up, and just keep like bulldozing through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of reframing it so that my brain can be like, no, we're gonna keep going, but we're gonna switch it to more positive words, more positive thinking. I can have that thought, but how can I put a positive spin on that
And
thought?
Amber, sometimes it doesn't even need to be positive in order for us to move forward. Like, a lot of the times I will just try to get to a neutral spot. Like, how can this not be debilitating to me? How can this just be something that I live with, and like, it's there, it's hanging out with us, it's in the room, but we're not leaning on that right now.
Yeah. And I think it also comes to embracing each of the pieces of us, each of our thoughts, each of our things. We get to embrace them as who we are. And yeah, recognize, observe, hey, yeah, that's okay. Cool. But I'm also going to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think introverts have this really cool superpower of, you're so observational. You see so much more that me, as like the bulldozer extrovert, I just want to go and do all the things. I don't pause long enough to see that. And so how can you take the things that you do have that you might think are a negative, and actually look at them like they're your superpower?
Yes. And I definitely talk quite a bit about this, is that as we can think of them as weaknesses, but they really are a strength, like observation, pausing, reflection, These are all amazing tools that we have that we can use to our benefit in our business, in our personal life, in everything, because then we can do the framework very simply as long as we can get out of our own brains first.
Absolutely.
So, what is one piece of advice you would give to introverts that are struggling to find their voice or their confidence?
Ooh. I would say shut off the noise. Come off of social media or
Mhm.
whatever influences you have around you. Come off of them for 48 to 72 hours and just start if you're looking to like be more open on social media or like have your voice on social media, for example. And you could take this same idea and apply it anywhere, but come off social media, stop looking at what everyone else is doing, and come home to yourself. What is it that you want to say? How do you want to say it? And then once you're back on social media or whatever, go out and say it. Just the way that you would if you didn't have any other influences around us.
Mhm. I think that's so powerful because I love doing that. And I tell people do it all the time. Sit with yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. It's hard to listen to your own brain. We don't always want to because, like you said, there's 80,000 thoughts happening, but it's filtering through those thoughts that is so necessary. And there's a little bit less thoughts when you shut off the noise for sure. So yeah, I definitely am a fan of that.
I've actually strategically stopped following other people that are in the same
Mhm.
realm as me because I
Mhm.
would realize that subconsciously I would start putting out things that sounded like them. And I'm like, I don't want to sound like them. I want to sound like me. And so as an introvert, you have so many more deep thoughts. Like I
Mhm.
just kind of shout things out that are at top of brain, right? But you probably have a lot more deeper thoughts that you've thought about longer, that you've marinated on, that are really important for some of us to hear. But you have to quiet the noise and let your voice come out. And sometimes to do that, you will need that time to rest and recuperate. And I would seriously consider, as an introvert, scheduling that almost every single week, like 48 hours off of social media just to come home to yourself and make that like a routine practice that you do as a form of deep self love and self care.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree so much with that because we need that time to recharge. We need that time. And because it's not only within our business, like, you know, the kids, the family, this, going out, doing this, all of that adds up so much to every person. So it's so important to go setting those boundaries in place and understanding the intention behind them. And when you do show up online, you can show up with way more intention and like integrity and self love because you know exactly what you're going to be saying. So,
Yeah, so I'm actually married to an introvert, and a couple of years ago we figured this out, and I'm gonna shout out the Book of Boundaries by Melissa Urban,
mhm,
that kind of taught me this. So my husband is deep introvert, and I used to try to drag him to every social engagement that we have. Now we live in a master built community that has like 40 different clubs and organizations. There is always something going on. And so I'm like, do you want to come to this? Do you want to come to that? So and so's having a party. Let's go here. And to me, as an extrovert, going to a party fills my cup. I'm like, yes,
mhm,
let's go meet people and talk and have a great time. And for him,
yeah,
that is so draining and so
mhm,
exhausting that for me to like drag him, he would be done for the rest of the weekend. If we went out Friday night, he'd be
mhm,
done the whole rest of the weekend. And I'd be like, ready to go. You want to go out to dinner? You want to do this? You want to do that? And finally, I realized like, hey, just because I want to go out doesn't mean that he wants to go out. So can I go out and he stay home and we both have our cups filled?
yeah,
And so, that's a little bit more like personal, social sort of thing. But as an introvert, what fills your cup and what do you need to make time for every single week? Is that sitting on the couch and rotting for 4 hours? Do it. Let your let your
uh,
spouse take the kids out for a
yeah.
date at Chuck E. Cheese, and you sit at home and do what it is that you need to refill your cup.
And that is exactly it. And it's interesting. So, my husband and I are both introverts. and our kids kind of are too. So we have like no problem sometimes not leaving our house or seeing people. We are that family. We do go out, and then it's like after like a couple hours, everyone's like, "Can we leave?" So it's really interesting when you get the mix of people together, but it's really, communicating and understanding those boundaries of like, this is what I need. And also understanding yourself and observing yourself and going, okay, yeah, I do need this, instead of going and going and going until you burn out and then there's nothing left. So it's really about, like you said, and I definitely am excited to check out that book. I have a book club going. It's called the Flamingo Reader's Nest. So I may be putting that one on my list to read for the future for sure.
Oh yeah, if you need to set any sort of boundaries, go check out Melissa Urban. She has all the scripts. Very rarely do I really read like professional development books anymore, but that's definitely one of those ones that I always recommend of like, especially if you're an introvert, how do you set the boundary of like, no, we're not coming to your house for Christmas morning. That's our time. And how do you do it in a kind, clear, respectable way?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So what do you have coming in? It's kind of March, beginning of March. What do you have going on?
Oh, so I run a mindset reset about every 6 to 8 weeks. I don't have my calendar up in front of me, but there's always something going on. Just come check out my social media and see what I'm talking about for that week. I try to have something for all different types of business owners, no matter where you are, beginning, middle, you know, 10 years down the line into business, something to support you and your mindset, because no matter where you are in your business journey, everyone needs help with their mindset because we're human and we have crappy thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. I will have all of Chrissy's links in the show notes so you can go follow her and see what she has going on. I know every week is something different and such great content, especially even for introverts coming from an extrovert. There is so much greatness that comes out. So thank you so much for Chrissy for coming on, and I hope that everyone has a great day.
Thanks for having me.